welcome back everyone to the Chicago Theater, where H2k has brought this series against Albus Nox Luna to match point. The fastest game of World so far. H2k up 2-0. No subs, not needed. Everything's going to stay the same as H2k will swap back to blue side. And Crepo, what is going on?
Yeah, I actually jokingly told them before the game, guys, I got a dinner appointment at 8 p.m. Can you make it a quick 3-0?
Oh, no.
I feel like they listened a little bit too well. I wouldn't mind an extra game, but they're like just smashing and stomping.
They really are, and you can show that they've actually put a lot of preparation to this team. They're giving them a lot of respect, and they are playing on a whole nother level.
For me, the biggest difference is, and it's really hard to tell, is just the fact when they make a gank, the enemy disappears at the fog of war, and they retreat. There is...
Even when way ahead.
Yeah, even when way ahead, they can make pivots on their plays, and they can actually change their aggression into just playing with respect. Even bot lane, they backed off a lot of the times as well. Like, there's this notion that Forgiven and Bandit always just play aggressively forward and just push, but they change up their style. Definitely challenging that notion. And everybody in H2k is so aware of where PvP Steos is, and it's great scouting done by Jankos as well. He's showing up everywhere he needs. A quick push left, a quick gank right, and then a kill for one there, or two.
Well, ANX, we've seen them play nice and chaotic. If they have a secret weapon, it needs to come out now, because they are down 0-2 in the series, but we are in a champ select for this next game here. H2k on the blue, Banaway, Brand, and Poppy, and Nidalee Siva there for ANX. So far, so good, and very standard.
And I've got to think that ANX, you need to change something up, right? Even just for morale's sake. You can't just go into the game the exact same way that you did the first two times and get completely smashed again.
Even if you go for the similar picks, you probably are looking at some crazy level ones. You know, that's honestly the way you can really spice up a game. Top laner hiding in a brush, surprise teleports, etc.
Do need some spice there, as Jin and Rise are the last two bans for H2k and ANX respectively. What is the first pick here?
This leaves Olaf open, Syndra open. There's the trade on the Zyra and the Caitlyn. That's very important, especially with Jin banned out here and Sivir off the board here. So definitely a lot of things that H2k is looking at. They're running through all the scenarios where they pick one, trade two, and then pick the fourth one on the back end. That's going through their head right now.
Certainly is, and I would love to see if Leclerc could get his hands on this Zyra, you know, for one of these games, change something up, give him the ability to perhaps take over a game and really kind of put out the extra damage.
First pick, Jace, 2 games in a row?
5.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I always forget about this Jace somehow. It doesn't enter my mind that this is apparently a staple top tier pick. Watch too many NA games where this...
Ooh.
It's 0 in EU, it's a 0 in NA, Crepo. Get that out of the NA games.
Well, there it is again once more for H2k. A third straight first pick or first available pick of Jace there, presumably again for Odo Amne.
And you have to think that they're going to be picking up the Zyra here.
Not that bad of a matchup. You can blind Jace as he swings in. You just gotta sidestep the shock blast.
Break it down for me, Crepo. Give me the strong analysis on the Teemo Jace lane.
Throw a shroom behind him and suddenly...
Wow, no counterplay.
It's over.
Yep.
Well, looks like no Teemo just yet. There's Caitlyn once again for a miracle, which I do still like, but Zyra sort of absent. They're looking for maybe Olaf again. Yeah,
but Olaf is such a great jungler for PvP Steos. That's his go-to jungler. He can also just run rampant through the Zyra as well once you walk into that lane. A good axe connecting early. I think this is the strongest 2 picks that they could get. I understand that they skipped the Zyra. They'll just have to play their lane different, though.
They certainly do, but I just would like to see them change something up, right?
Yeah,
Olaf has not been working. Jankos, you're not taking anything away from this guy. He's comfortable playing these other picks, and for me, you go all in on this very strong, aggressive bot lane. You try to make something happen. When you look at a lot of the wins for ANX, they've been on the back of Leclerc. His Tom Kench game against CLG took over. His Brand game took over. So these are the kind of things that I would like to see him have the chance to do. And by picking up this Olaf, you're denying him that chance because it's almost guaranteed going over to Vander in this side of the draft.
I would be so surprised if H2k don't take it here. Again, they really don't have too much to fix here. A lot of it's been in solid drafts, but just how they've played as well. It's been such crisp play from H2k, and it's only getting better as the games go on. So I expect them to take very similar drafts here. Forgiven likely going to go back to Lucian, locks it in. Bandit happy once again with the Zyra. H2k don't need to change something up. It's ANX that doing. Maybe that's a comfort Anivia. Maybe that's a crazy pick for the Crypt, but whatever it is, it needs to come up now.
Yeah, it looks like both teams are so confident in their drafts and marking down the losses up to, honestly, gameplay errors. And that's honestly an accurate assessment. Everything could have gone well for ANX if they just executed on their plays slightly better. However, it feels like they are outmatched individually across the board. Every single member from H2k is outperforming, outshining their counterpart on ANX.
Yeah, they certainly are. And just the fact that ANX has this confidence, it is something to respect. The fact that they are willing to go back to this, I get that. I understand it. Yes, you made mistakes, but I still just feel like even had they not made some of these mistakes, they would have just had a chance. They wouldn't have been ahead, right?
Nope.
H2k is winning by such monumental margins that it feels like you need to change something up, but they're not going to do it, at least just yet. Last chance is really going to be Kira trying to mix something up. And
I like this. H2k say, you know what? It's open. We're finally going to take it. Syndra, Lee Sin, as H2k do make some adjustments here. And if we are going to see a different pick, Kira with the last pick has to show it.
Yeah, it's honestly, it could be the Aurelion Soul coming out, or yeah, it has to be the Soul, I imagine. Malzahar are a very poor matchup. Vladimir is a losing matchup.
Zillion apparently going pretty all in on the Olaf and Caitlyn, trying to get in and aggressive.
If you keep dying in the early game,
Solved it.
bring yourself back to life. You can die again, but for real, it's actually a pretty nice pick, especially in conjunction with the Olaf. You have the speed ups. You can send him in on these kind of suicide missions for the backline, especially for someone like Zyra, who's very susceptible to an Olaf.
Oh, definitely, and especially if you play with the jungler that has a really large damage share, which means he probably picks up quite a few bits of gold here and there and actually can snowball. If they cater this composition around Steos, Tempered Fate goes in, Steos dies the backline, he gets tanky plus his base damages, gets revived again. That's the way they want to win. That's exactly what H2k want to avoid, but they have so much tools to just instantly blow up this Olaf. Not even once, just twice.
And it's been an interesting start to the series. H2k have come out guns blazing 2 games in a row. Oda Wanmei has been the recipient of a lot of gifts in the early game with some kills, and he has done an excellent job snowballing them. We talked about Forgiven and Ryu being the guys that were going to make it work, and Ryu has kind of sat back and done his job along with Forgiven. Forgiven again will have to do that, but Ryu's definitely on a champion where he can make some waves. I want to see him have a big game as well.
Yeah, and he is going to be someone who can roam, and although Kira really has not made use of it on the Syndra yet, Ryu is someone I think can and will make use of it, especially because his side lanes are winning. His jungler has been more proactive, and working in conjunction with them, you can really take over, and that's something that's very, very scary if Syndra gets going.
He's also done this plenty of times in the past. He's very aware of how he can influence other lanes, especially with the style that Jankos is playing right now. Jankos not afraid to move into the enemy jungle. It gets much easier when you have mid lane priority. Priority meaning obviously the first right to push and the first right to roam.
Well, we'll have to see what happens here because they're onto the Rift for game number 3. H2k up 2-0, need to win one of the next 3 to advance to their semi-final date with Samsung Galaxy. Definitely tough, but they can't be thinking about it now. ANX, they're going to have to rattle off 3 straight if they want to continue what's been a miraculous run through the tournament.
There we go, group up, power in numbers. They get spotted though, so that's it.
Stego's like, okay. Bomb thrown back there by Kira. Things on a ring, say, yep, got that guy.
Still, worth a try, right? Look for something. Look to get that advantage that can kind of start to snowball the game.
And they didn't give up much either. There's no deep ward placed by Jankos or Oda Wanmei, so in terms of the information war, H2k is on the exact same point as Albus Naxuna, except they gave a brush control bot, which is actually very, very big.
Yeah, and it looks like they actually want to go for the Gromp, so it could be a repeat of what we saw in the first game, where they give up that wave control, they get zoned off, and as a result, they're going to be the ones getting pushed in.
It hurts, man. If Forgiving can freely step out of this brush, the reason this is such a bad setup, and because it happened 3 times now, I'm actually going to dive into it a little bit more, is because Forgiving can step out of brush, freeze, redirect the aggro from the minion wave, and he's basically going to deny ANX 1 or 2 creeps, and then they have to walk into lane and lose even more CS as they get poked out, you know, because this is where they step out. Look, he's going to bunch up the creeps. Once he gets the aggro, he's going to release the aggro. Now they're all going to focus on the first creep in the next wave. That one's going to die. Because they're taking Gromp, they're taking some damage. Because they want control of the push, they put these range creeps on very low HP so they can finish them off whenever they want. They're using the damage on the creep right now. 1 creep lost. And right now they push because they have complete control of the wave, so there is no poke, no range advantage for Caitlyn.
And it's just one of those little things that it matters so much here. And we saw ANX really put pressure on H2k in the bottom lane for the first time, and Forgiven and Vander play respectfully and will play back. This time though, with that camp start, able to get a nice little advantage. And once again, Caitlyn, when she's not shoving, she's usually not doing too much.
Watch him attack the wave very early every time. They know if they get pushed in, it's so easy for Caitlyn Bar to punish you super hard. They got level 2 first, again, 6 creeps versus 3, complete control in the bot lane. All they need to do is dodge the Olaf gank.
Certainly do, and I think that they're going to be in a pretty good position to do that because it looked like there was pings coming up on that side. They're pretty well aware of where that Olaf is going to be.
Well, Steos again, actually looking over towards Jankos' side of the jungle. Good stun there onto Forgiven, actually, so damage is
Nice
decent.
trade.
But Bandit does get back in there. Zara, lots of damage as support. And looks like Jankos and Steos did have a bit of a meeting, but I think Jankos making sure he gets his Scuttle Crab could have a fight for it. Steos actually already popped his Ghost, but H2k going to make sure he doesn't get involved and take that neutral away.
And that was very preemptive, especially because Ryu has the mid lane push. He can respond much more quickly than his opponent, and Steos has to respect that. And Kira's actually into trouble here.
Hurts a lot. Kira in
One
trouble.
Q.
Ryu needs one more. Can he land it up? There's the flush. There's the Q. Solo kill, first blood for Ryu.
Oh, couple minions!
The potion!
Always pop your potion early in the trades right there. Jankos right now can challenge Steos. He knows he has no ghost. He can waste time. The more he reveals this Olaf.
Uh-oh, Forgiven.
Big
Oh,
mistake.
shot, not enough. Q is there, but the heal saves his life.
Oh, I wonder if this was actually a plant that randomly spawned on top of a trap. That can happen, and it makes it very hard for you to spot Caitlyn traps, even if it's your own Zyra doing it with the RNG plants.
Worth noting, Jankos also got the red buff here. So just look at Kira. He's walking forward into this, taking so much damage.
Kira wants to flash the next Q, but Ryu's like, I don't even need to flash, bro. I can just keep autoing you very close there on the end, but because there's the potion ticking, it works. Still don't know what happened in the bot lane, but Forgiven walked in the trap. He had to yield all the pressure, but still has his flash available. So all in all, it's not the worst, but it's definitely just a minor misplay on the bot lane.
Going back, playing it nice and safe. Does have a Cull picked up once again as Vander is going to keep the way that neutral. Licorice can't really stay here safely. Nice juke from Vander, gets his way out. And Miracle locked up again. Going to deny that back for as long as possible.
Jankos again taking over in jungle. He's 3-buffed his opponent now. That is definitely not the start that they wanted. Thankfully for them, they did at least have something going well in the bot lane because they need something to be able to play around it. In the top lane, Odoamne is already kind of taking over and getting that advantage for the 3rd straight game.
Yeah, and with doing that, Odoamne also gets security. If you can see your jungler challenge his opponent in his jungle, that means you can freely push up the top lane and you can really play towards your strengths on that Jace pick. Also, we need to look at what these junglers mean in terms of the composition. Jankos is a tool of engage and is basically there to support his team, while ANX have a composition that is kind of centered around speeding up Steos and having him wreck the backline, and he's already behind.
And one thing that is kind of scary about it, although Steos can run right through that Zyra disengage and everything, Zyra, if he wants to play it well, you actually put the ultimate in the plants behind the Olaf.
Yeah.
You disengage the rest of the team, let the Olaf come in 1v5, and you kill that guy off.
And that's exactly why you need him to be strong, ahead, and tanky, so he can definitely kill one guy, then get revived by Zillion. But right now, quite grim here.
Oh, Licorice going in, tries to trade with Forgiven, does a decent job as he portals his way out. Jankos continuing to play aggressive. Early Swifty boots once again means that Jankos wants to get nice and active both in his lanes and in his opponent's jungle. Steos is falling pretty significantly far behind in experience. Jankos is almost a level up once more.
Jankos has just really impressed me this whole series, honestly. He has been working so well with Odoamne and the team.
Level 6 power spike here, Kira, an unexpected.
Oh, ulti, Jenny can't answer, and another solo kill for Ryu.
It's so grim here, Zillion. It's so easy to expect enemies to level up at the same moment as you in the mid lane, but obviously if you give them a kill earlier, it's completely unexpected here. Kira was not ready for that. Watch that again, he's like, okay, enemy's level 5, I'm getting some CS. Oh, suddenly one creep's gonna die here, and then that's Ryu level 6, and suddenly it's all over.
Hero has no chance in this situation, and at this point, you just have to accept that. You have to wait till it gets pushed in. You're relegated to wave clear duty. He's putting himself so far behind as far as CS and the kills now. This Syndra is going to be able to walk around the map and one-shot anyone, including the Olaf.
Yeah, and Vander canceling those backs earlier made it so that the lane control again was in favor of H2k, and mostly due to base timings here, so they have control of bot lane again. If they want to jump on that point, though, Azale, that you made earlier for Jankos playing so well, it matters so much to them as well. This is the first time that this Polish duo, Jankos and Vander, make it to Worlds. They've been trying for so long, and when they do, they finally go off in week 2. They have a sweeping quarterfinal. It must feel so great for them to finally get the recognition that they feel they have deserved.
Well, team certainly playing great across the board here as Smurf down 20 CS and counting looks like Jankos is up to his old tricks again.
Actually pretty critical that Smurf has dodged these last couple shock blasts because he's not softened up, and now a dive would be very dangerous. And Jankos, there was no creeps up here for him to pick up, and if they go for this dive, it could be a bit risky.
He's getting softened up now, though. Oda1, they might look for the solo. Meganar's going to give him a bit of extra health. Ryu's rotated up as well, though.
And this is why Syndra is such a good early game pick. Ryu's doing what QI could not. It's roaming.
Smurf even go. Getting it tagged there, and Oda just kills him. Ryu, no assist. Unlucky.
Nowhere for him to go at all. You asked the question, that's the answer. That guy was already dead. He got collapsed on from all sides. Once again, it's looking like they might get this first turret. And key to note, Ryu didn't have to expend anything, just a bit of his time. He still has his ult.
Yeah. Gets an advantage in the mid lane, leverage that advantage. Instead of looking for more aggression or chip damage, he just moves into the enemy jungle, translates that pressure into the top lane. Guess what? Another kill for Oda1, and the turret falls. He's sitting at 67 CS versus 36 right now.
Ooh, that's ugly. And solo gold, he gets the kill there as well. So he is just going to be getting so fast to this Ghostblade, and it just feels like it's just on repeat. You know, it's a broken record. Same thing, all three matchups. They don't change it up. They cannot respond appropriately, and they cannot deal with Odoamne in any way.
And the change is that Ryu, on a more aggressive champion where he can apply pressure, also has 2 kills. He's got them himself, though. And now as they're dueling with blue buffs, you can just see Ryu 10 CS ahead, has the Sork Shrews early, has the Lost Chapter built up already. Kira barely gets out of range of that stun.
It's actually a super fun matchup here, Zilean into Syndra, where it's all about sidesteps. You gotta get close to the creep so he can throw his bomb out, but not close enough that it explodes. You gotta sidestep these spheres. The harass patterns is basically going for creeps and the enemy at the same time, because otherwise you lose the push. But Ryu definitely mastering that Syndra, making us wonder why he did not pick it earlier.
Maybe showing that he didn't need it, but is starting to kind of roam again, get that push going. This is kind of what we expected from Kira, but that he couldn't quite convert on with his Syndra. And if he continues to go top lane, Jankos won't need to help Oda1 out. Ryu can do it himself. All we've seen already, 3v1 or 3vx dives also work when H2k already have a big early game pressure point.
They have worked, and it seems like everything works for H2k, but for ANX, their next play needs to work, right?
Yeah.
When you're at this point, you have to choose your point of attack, and you have to commit to it, and you have to have something kind of go well.
And then we can start looking, what could that play be? Perhaps it's a double teleport bot lane with a full rage bar Gnar into a teleport, Tempered Fate into Trap. Is a perfect setup. You can always do it for Zyra, Stunner, right there. Technically, that could have been the ulti into the trap.
They're going for it. Vander going to get Tempered Fated up here. Forgiven keeping them out with the calling. Vander gets it, roots out onto Miracle, and that's going to force Luca to flash. Forgiven goes in for it, and Vander's slow, but the Strangle Thorns barely going to miss the knock-up. Here come the TPs, though.
Why are they so late? Where are these teleports? Tempered Fate, Q, Trap, all done, and then no teleports.
Jankos is here, and there's no TP to respond now.
Jankos has his flash as well. He's going to clear out the ward, and that's going to force ANX's dual lane off of the bottom outer turret. I mean, ANX can't stay because they'll die, but they don't want to lose this turret either.
I've got to say, Licorice should have used his exhaust in that fight. The fact that Forgiven was uninhibited, was able to go forward, get so much damage down, all exhausted.
Salos goes in, looking for someone. Ulti's on to Vander, gonna crush down the Zyra. Looking for it, does get the kill. And now Forgiven caught out, gets exhausted, ace in the hole. There's the play for ANX.
They needed to make a play, and they finally execute. They pick up 2 kills in the bot lane. The Olaf starting to get strong, just like you said he needed to, Crepo.
Yeah, he gets those kills. That's super important that he gets at least one of them here. Counterplay potentially from Jankos. Can kick Kira in.
One shot. Kira kicked in there. Gonna get stunned, but not long enough. Ultimate will proc here, but the follow-up's there. Kira flashes out of the way. Stuns to whisper out of one. He says no as Ryu gets his 3rd kill on Kira in the game.
And suddenly that's a perfect trade here for H2k. They lose 2 in the bot lane, but they get an Infernal Dragon and a kill in the mid lane. They're so happy with this because they can keep controlling the map. They're constantly in control of the tempo. ANX is forced to play super reactive, and Smurf was Mega Gnar, had teleport, never present. Let's look right now. This is the 2nd play, so this definitely doesn't need a teleport. But I really wonder if Smurf was in cancel range of Odoamne, and that's why he was maybe not teleporting in earlier. The exhaust finally comes out. Azale's happy.
Yeah, am I though? He was already dead, so I think I'm a little bit unhappy with that one still. Hard to please, Crepo.
Ryu continuing to shove in. He's got a big back, you have to think, with these 3 early kills and those components of the Morellonomicon already done. You can see 1,200 gold now ready, so he should have that first major item, and there it is. Ghostblade done for Oda1 as well, and Forgiven is going nice and aggressive on his build with a Ghostblade of his own coming up. Meanwhile, on the other side, kind of components for Miracle, but that's where he wants to be. Just a giant spell for Smurf, and a Rod of Age is not done yet for Kira. H2k once again with a huge lead.
Yeah, huge lead, but there's still teleport advantage on Smurf. He could build up his Rage. Tempered Fade into Trap is enough time for, honestly, teleport to land. Even if it's not in a deep ward location, there are only one flash available, actually, for Forgiven. I was going to say no flashes. Forgiven still has his.
But I'd like to see them continue to pick on this Zyra. You don't have to kill off Forgiven. He's the big prize, but kill off the summonerless Zyra. This guy is so squishy. You have PvP stay host with his ult. You have Smurf with his TP. I think that's where you need to continue to attack.
They're doing
try to get
right
in
here.
the head.
Look at the wards they're sweeping there. They want to go for another portal play, but it's so hard to do it into Zyra. You want to send in Olaf first, wait as the Bard, but looks like Vander and Forgiven have learned their lesson. They're adapting, which means Jankos just goes mid.
He's got the answer. Flash kick again. There's the stun. Kira gonna die in the combo.
Has the ultimate, just can't use it. Perfect CC, because ANX is so tunneled on this bot lane. They're going in right now. Is H2k ready to react? Yes, they are.
Tempered Fade finds
Good
Vander.
ulti.
Does get the Thorns in, but now Forgiving gonna keep them out of the way. Vander stunned into the wall. The Exhausted down, but it's not enough. Lucrit gets one, but they will not dive it.
At least they get that return kill. You know, they did lose their mid laner, though, and they lost mid lane turret. Now the tier 2 is getting worked away on. H2k always taking the better trade.
Yeah, they trade better because Vander, yes, he dies, but he spots the gank for one. He loses his life, but essentially it's a base cancel for his own life, which means another tier 2 turret. H2k, because they play their style so well, leave you with almost no right choice. Is choosing the lesser of evils at this point for ANX.
Forgiven playing very aggressive to try and take some CS here. Lucrit could have a good line for a stun. The turret's getting low, but H2k again another rotation. Gonna join O2 and take another tier 2. ANX traded one turret for two, and those two were tier 2 turrets.
Did they get the mid lane tier 1 as well?
Yes,
The fact
actually,
that
they
three,
did.
so it was actually 3 turrets there and the kill. 0-4 and 0 for Kira. He's having a bad time as when you lose control of that mid lane, it's so easy to set up these flanks, and Jankos has done it beautifully.
Yeah, especially when H2k, they're using the information that they have on the map. There's pressure against them bot lane. Jankos, instead of going into maybe like, let's help you out position, he just tells his bot lane guys, chill. I'm just gonna go mid, kick him out, get the turret, and they're playing around their strengths. They're hiding their weaknesses. Very refined gameplay here from H2k.
Well, Ryu gonna get himself a blue buff, so he's gonna continue having the hype train roll forward for him. O2 again, a bit quieter this time, but still more than capable of pressuring a side lane. Constantly looks like he's currently bottom side.
Yeah, and Ryu, the fact that he found these kills in the most crucial phase of the matchup, 3-6 Zillion, doesn't have to revive. The whole reason it's a good matchup sometimes is because you can at least lane even and you can dodge the all-ins. But every time Kira's died afterwards, he's been kicked so far up that they can just kill him again.
It also means that the one kind of strong point right now for ANX, which is really kind of their Caitlyn, at least he's doing pretty well, 1-0-1. You'd hope he could get something done. But how does he survive against a 4-0 Syndra? This guy can just press R on you at the start of every fight.
He doesn't. That's the problem.
We solved it. Good to have answers to questions.
Check that box.
Check.
Analysis complete.
Forgiving getting what CS he can in the mid lane. Phage up for O2 means that Blight Cleaver is once again going to be coming up nice and quickly, and the right lies on the way for Ryu, who already has the big part of it that he needs to blow up that poor Caitlyn.
Yeah, we saw Vander base here pick up the Moby Boots and the Side Stone, and we already know where that vision's going.
Yeah, and I think that they can start to set up around the Dragon once again if they want to go there. They have actually showed that they like to get Rift Herald quite a bit too. That's 2 games in a row they got it for O2, so I think they have some options. We'll see though, as they are closing in on this bot lane tier 2. It's the last one left on the map, and I think that's where they really want to strike first.
And we can already see 1 ward, 2 wards, just choking out the vision, forcing them backwards. Jankos, a lot of wards to jump to as well. They're mostly put around the walls, giving him a lot of options of escape. Forgiven switch to mid lane. Look at it. Dragon's Feet for the taking in 40 seconds. They have the dive potential on bot lane. Tempered Fate can come out, however.
Good poke also. Oh, the crit! He's going in for the play, but he gets stunned immediately, and Ryu blows into pieces. Stayhouse chasing down the carries. The Miracle's doing what he can, but the ulti's out onto Ola. That should be enough for the killers. Ryu grabs the double. Now Flash out of the roots from a Miracle, who's going to get a bit of time in the bottle from Kiro, but this turret is going to mount. They might chase for more. Odo, he really wants it, but they'll take what they can instead.
And where H2k is reading the map, parsing through all the information, ANX is doing the absolute opposite, complete tunnel vision. Join, basically just watching your screen, nothing on the minimap.
Oh no, Jankos in again, kicks him forward. Kira does get the ulti off, but there's the culling down. Kira forced a fat flash over the wall, but H2k is still going.
Because Liquid goes blind, he sees nobody in the top lane. He must know that they H2k.
He got him over the wall.
Devin Fate's gonna miss, but what a snipe there from Kira. TP down from ANX. They're gonna try and salvage something.
Why didn't he TP in below them? Look at that ward.
I don't know what to tell you.
But here he goes.
With the kill, slows on Tiangos with the boomerang. Liquid, see ya later as Forgiven takes him down. More kills forthcoming, and Smurf now has to run out of the way of the rest of H2k. Ryu, he's got his flash, he's got his ultimate almost up as well, but Smurf's gonna get away this time.
So it was actually a blue trinket there, and that is why.
Why are you hitting a Smurf?
Fair enough.
He only
fair
used
enough.
TP for the first time at 70 minutes in the game. Okay, he couldn't TP on that ward as Zale, but he could definitely have TP'd much earlier in any of the fights.
Yeah.
If you are the aggressor, you need your top laner to join the fray. Liquid goes in, completely blind, boom, splatter, goes down. At least Stales doesn't need too much of the damage.
Yeah, and this is the thing when Ryu gets this strong. This is what I talked about. You can just dump your ultimate on the Olaf. It doesn't matter. The guy can't survive. He has almost no MR at this point and just gets completely erased.
And there's the Rylo's done now for Ryu. We've got 2 Ghost Blades on the side of H2k, and I think 2 Black Cleavers also almost finished for the AD carries in Odoamne and Forgiven. The amount of strength H2k have right now is immense, and it's reflected once again in a ridiculous gold lead. 7,000 gold and counting, 18 minutes in. We talked about a lot of these things feeling like deja vu with Odoamne back on Jason, H2k getting early leads. Well, we're here once again in game number 3.
And I think they just want to crack this last outer turret here. They're kind of looking around, and they may catch Stejos.
Oop, no, not this time. Caught sleeping, but does ulti out of Ryu's stun. Still getting slowed down, though. Kira is there to save him if he wants to. There's a bomb on his head, but not needed. Ryu barely not enough to kill him.
Yeah, friendly fire turned off, luckily for Stejos. He would need that revive right there. The trap splitting put up. Jankos is back. Jankos?
Hello, Kira again. Oh, he ultis himself, but he's going to take the turret. Jankos going to auto it down.
Nice
Does
ulti
get it.
from Liquid.
And now Kira has to run out of the way. Calling is in, but Jankos stunned into the wall as Kira gets another snipe.
Very good turnaround there from ANX. Liquid plays it beautifully, lands a big ultimate, giving Kira the time both to disengage and a miracle time to set up his traps.
But still, it's only a kill for a tower, and that's what ANX is doing. They're looking for scraps left and right of minor overreachings of H2k. You see the highlights of some of the beautiful things in their composition, rather. They have the Bar-Zillion combo. You can actually place those bombs, and they will instant trigger after the ultimate. But because ANX falls so far behind in the early game, they could never actually aggressively start using that. That could have been a counter to Sinfa in the mid game.
Ooh, I love this. Nice late Rift Herald from, actually ANX, hello. Not the team I expected to be in the pit, but that'll be nice for them. Who's going to get it? Might be Stales, it could be Smurf, but it's going to last for a while, and Smurf does receive the buff. So nice little steal there from Albus Nox Luna.
And you talked about it, Crepo, they're fighting for scraps, and this is just something that they could get, something that they could sneak, and I think it was well done. So Yanko's kick, flash, Kane on Kira, kind of baiting them into a false sense of security almost as he moved back towards the turret, but then Liquid, good turnaround here. The trap gets dropped under Yankos, they take him out.
Yeah, Yankos was the war sack right there. He was not trapped in with them, they were trapped in with him.
Credit to Yankos as well. He flashed the Cosmic Binding, I believe, so got all the mechanics on Lee Sin as he has been showing up in this series, but Baron's up again. H2k might try and sneak it, or Stales has to check it.
That's no flash. Olaf, he can only run away from the
Liquid
damage.
locked up. There's the stun. That should be a kill, and it's easy with no ultis. Kira does save his support's life.
Ryu saved his ulti there, so they could look to fight again before Kira has his ultimate back, or at least get some major pressure.
And if you finish people off right now, their corpse will fly. I think we changed that a while ago. It's actually good for Zillion comps. Back in the day, I think the corpse would stay where you finished him, so at least that helps ANX.
Yankos getting himself the grump as Ryu just charging up some spheres here in this brush and waiting for a customer. I'm not sure Stales is buying what they're selling, but he's kind of forced to check because, again, blind in the pit, and oh no.
He's got no ulti.
No ulti, that's bad news. Isn't gonna burn the ult. No, he does. Is that enough? It's not quite. Stejos lives through another barrage.
It's enough to get him away from the Baron, however. He's on 20%. They have plans to tank it. They have a lot of damage. H2k could commit, but they're just going to keep baiting and baiting and baiting.
Has to face check, and he almost goes down this time. Ryu does not have blue buff, but he can do this for a while.
Yeah, that should be the trigger for H2k moving up. They can have Ryu just as ranged artillery right here. Odoamne finds Smurf. They're happy with this.
I'm not sure Smurf wants it. Odo's like, I think
Kira's
there's
coming
someone
down,
else
though.
here. He does know that Kira's there, but the Frozen Mallet could maybe spell Odoamne's death. Nice flash, but Smurf follow flashes over, thundering blow back, and Kira can't quite lock him down. Acceleration Gate's going to keep it all going, but Smurf delivers the killing blow. Liquid's dead though, and H2k stop Baron.
TP from
TP
Smurf.
from Smurf though. Does cancel it, and H2k say, okay, that's enough. We give up this time.
Oh, I was so ready for Albus Nox Luna to TP in and finish off the Nashor, but it would have been 3v4.
He's going to take the pink ward down instead. It's the little victories right now for Albus Nox Luna. The crowd still behind them.
instill so much belief in this team that has made history here at Worlds.
Yeah.
Never before has someone from the LCL or any of the international wildcard regions made it to the quarterfinals, and they did it in incredible fashion.
And the fact that this is a 3-0 sweep takes nothing away from their performance in groups. They went above and beyond, and then even more, taking a game of tournament favorites in super, honestly, fun fashion too. They made League of Legends fun again.
They did. And it's not a sweep yet, but you can kind of see why you'd say it, because it's getting awfully close once more. H2k close to up 10,000 gold once more. This game will not be as fast as the last one, unless something absolutely silly happens. But H2k, they're going to go back to Baron. Odo bottom lane again. Does have the teleport so strong in the 1v1, and H2k, this should be straightforward now.
Yeah, and with Smurf not having his TP, Odoamne just needs to sit bot lane, push this in, wait for someone to respond, then they can look to make a play.
Oh, they're making a play instead. Steos going to get caught. Jankos follows him in, but Steos going to pop the ultimate and keep himself safe.
Albus Nox are looking for a hard commit here. This could have been the window. Or at least forcing Odoamne's teleport. Again, they want to look for Temper Fade into the bomb combo. That's their saving grace right now. Insta one-shot Ryu before he can deal any damage.
That was really their one window of opportunity, though.
Looking again, they find Jankos only, who's got GA. There's the bomb cover, but he actually goes out of it! Miracle! Gets kicked over a wall, but Steos with no ult, he's going to get caught down, forgiven. Switching on to Smurf as Ryu commits the ultimate. Kira does all one as a Miracle now, getting aggressed on by Jankos. GA pops for Steos, he's back again as Vander gets locked down by a stun, and no one's there, but H2k get crucial cooldowns.
Good ideas, bad execution. It's the story of this game so far in quarterfinals.
Yeah, I actually think that H2k didn't have to go for that fight. They could have just backed off after the ultimate was on Jankos, let Odoamne continue pushing because they had the side lane TP advantage. Instead, they go for the fight. Not able to really get much out of it.
Steos caught with no ultimate, but it does feel like Jankos is kind of trying to make a montage. Here he is again, looks for Miracle, that's going to force a flash. Follow flashes 1v3. He's got the GA, but this man's insane. Liquid over the wall gets stunned in by Ryu, and that's enough damage for Given. Claims another life.
Yeah, Jankos, they're still looking for a few more abilities. They were all in cooldown. One more hit was enough. Has GA though. Kills the enemy support. H2k, very low HP, considering a stab at Baron Nashor. But Kira with one double bomb could spell doom.
It could, but I mean, chunking them out, forcing them back to base once again does always have that risk of the Baron. I think this is smart for H2k. They take the scuttle before they reset, denying that from ANX, allowing them to continue to bait Baron.
And they leave a ward in the pit. Very important when you play against the Bard, because they've already shown that they could kind of backdoor the Rift Herald. That's definitely the way ANX want to win this game. They kill the ward, leave the Scuttle Crab up, and then just portal in from behind. But I think H2k is experienced enough with ANX, especially since they scrimmed them as well, apparently in week 2.
We can see that Cloud Drake will go over to ANX. Actually got one in and amongst all the early game action, so they'll get a second here. It's not the Infernal that H2k have, but it is at least good to take these over and get a bit of bonus stats for yourself. H2k, though, they've gone back. They're starting to get towards those third items. BF Sword for Forgiven, Void Stuff done for Ryu. Like, these power points are just getting harder and harder for Albus Nox Luna.
They certainly are, but you know, as Albus Nox Luna, you gotta take what you can get. Getting those Wind Dragons means that if it eventually gets that late game stage and you get an Elder, then you have the extra true damage burn, and you're denying that from H2k. So they have to fight tooth and nail for every little thing that they can take.
Yeah, no flash on Ryu. He can pop the Ghost, which means Liquid will have to be roughly in like 1.5, 2 screens away. Otherwise, it's too easy to sidestep that ultimate. Keep your eyes on Liquid and Steos, because they could portal in, get an axe to the ulti, and then the follow-up. That's what they want to look for.
And everyone is just a little too squishy. You can see that Ola barely any MR, and Ryu already has 3 items, with one of them being Void.
Yep, and having that Void, you know all those times PvP Steos barely lived, and guess what? He dies now. So that is where it gets super, super scary for him, because these tanks are now so vulnerable.
And again, the setup for H2k, Odo bottom side, almost level 16, as that Bloodthirster third will come out again.
Yeah, comfort in numbers for ANX. They work around their weak teleports by just moving their top laner with their team, but they obviously can't siege, so they're looking for a pick. They're honestly waiting for H2k to overcommit somewhere. Prime target is Ryu, but they'll settle for anything.
Odo actually going to back off, knows that he doesn't want to play too aggressively. There are 2 members currently looking down the river, but Smurf's just going to join in 1v1, and Odo again playing safe, as H2k know that the longer this goes, the better, the easier the Baron's going to be.
Has to be careful though. There could have been a portal down bot lane, but ANX don't want to commit 2 to catch Odo because they'll lose the Baron Nashor. But there are a lot of long distance portals available to catch Odo on the out in the bot lane.
There certainly are, but unless 2 people come, there's not much chance for Smurf, because The Smurf is having to build MR to not just instantly die to Ryu. And guess what? Odoamne just builds purely for this 1v1. Look at his itemization. He doesn't need to do that. And there's so little real armor on Smurf, he's going to get shredded by Odoamne.
H2k taking it slow. They know the only way they lose this game is if they hand the Baron Asher over to ANX. Theos, half HP already without the usage of the ultimate. Ryu can just one-shot him, and that's the threat right there. OF has to walk around as well. Remember, no flash on him.
As Ailey pointed it out, that void stuff that they saw as Tempered Fate's going to rush in and stop the Baron attempt. Ryu looking for a stun, finds the crit, but might just ulti someone down here. Jankos kicks Kira back in again, but he ultis himself this time as the TP's coming in for H2k's top laner. Odo going to join, but he cancels. Going to keep pushing down, but Kira just goes down. He revived, but it wasn't enough, as he did come back up and H2k take him down again.
And Odoamne can just keep pushing. Smurf needs to respond here, and if he shows over there, they can just start this bait once again, working on the turret already here. Now Smurf shows, Odoamne looks to back off. They need to turn and fight.
Goes play pop. Odo knows he has to stand his ground, but he's going to try and kite it out. Shock blast in. Odoamne with a big bit of damage as Jankos going to try and save him. Smurf insta-flashes, and Odoamne lives.
And just look at how one-sided that fight was, considering Odoamne was tanking the turret. He wasn't returning fire for all this time because he was giving the respect that there could be a second ANX player. He still almost wins the 1v1.
All right, but ANX, they fight their way out of a situation where H2k could have technically won 100% of the time if they executed perfectly. It's always hard to judge. It's nitpicking, but at this point with a 10,000 gold lead, that's what we need to look at. H2k not closing out as cleanly, but it's always so hard to tell. They're so far ahead. They have the window to play a more casual style here, playing honestly like 5% plays. If there's any chance of it going wrong, H2k is just resetting the map because eventually they can get the 100% play.
They're one game from the semifinals. You want it to be that 100% play like you talked about. They want to be the ones to represent Europe in the semifinals. They had received a lot of criticism. People had not put any faith in this team. It was all about G2, and H2k disproved so many of the critics and have had such a successful tournament.
Well, at this point, Ryu's level 15. He's one level away from rank 3 ultimate, and I'm just waiting for him to completely melt somebody. A fourth item's going to be on the way soon. He's had an insanely good game on the Syndra, and you can see the total damage he's done. 20,000 already. He's like, you add up all of ANX, and he's almost done more than all of them.
Yeah, you combine the 80 carry, the jungler, and the top laner, and Ryu will match that for you. Doubling his direct lane opponent here. What a driving force. And honestly, he is the player that balanced out H2k. When Ryu performed, this entire style fits together. Odoamne can switch to carries. Forgiven can play his favorite style. Good sidestep again here. ANX grasping at straws. They really want to find that one opening.
Oh, Jankos, he went in! He wants Miracle again! He's trying to make a highlight reel, but he's going to kick Stayos back out instead. Doesn't lose his GA though, but PvP Stayos pops the ultimate, rushes forward, Forgiven keeps him away.
Oh, a great stalling tour here. The Zillion, just threat of the ulti means that Jankos has to prioritize the Zillion himself, and Kira was completely aware of it.
He was, but Kira has to blow that flash. Stayos with his ulti down as well. So H2k has the advantage on those cooldowns. Ryu, though, getting chunked out, needs to be careful here.
Bomb damage there as well. That's actually taking him quite low. So Ryu, maybe just look to base here, shed a lot of XP so the ulti's not there. And ANX have done a nice job in bottom lane.
They really have. They prepped that wave, and that is actually getting pushed in. That's not something that should happen
Here we go.
to H2k when they're this far ahead.
Odo?
Oh, they're going to look for the dive.
Not sure he's safe. Kira going to look for the double bomb, doesn't land it. Odo kicks his way up at the nice slow there as the rest of the team's in. Smurf pulls back in a mini, but it's enough to slow him down with the frozen mallet. They'll chase down Odoamne. They will get themselves a kill. Smurf collects his top lane opponent.
But Jankos straight onto that Baron. They're going to try to force it. Lecrit has his ultimate soon, so he could look to delay.
Ooh.
But it looks like ANX just wants to try to push for the inhibitor.
Ryu went for Ghost Slash to cancel the teleport on Kira, which means Liquid is the only person defending this, and as much as I love Bard, I don't think he's able to do this.
Smurf going to try and do this here, but he's got no Nama. Lecrit going to do as best he can. Smurf going to speed his way over.
They can do this,
speed
maybe.
him up. Vander getting a little low. The Baron still taking damage. Smurf holds forward, but he gets exhausted. H2k. They're
He's
going to
on
lose.
Mega.
Lecrit takes him down. Smurf Mega's in. Gets Jankos, but the GA is still there. H2k, though, have to stop Baron.
They stopped them, and they're on the
my
inhibitor.
God.
This is incredible from ANX. Smurf and Lecrit delay them. They're stopping the bases. Yes, Lecrit traded his life, but it is more than worthwhile as they take the inhibitor, and ANX, the miracle workers,
And
somehow bull around out that.
And H2k say, you know what, we're going to take this Baron because we just can't let that inhibitor go down. But if they make it back, H2k are in so much trouble.
And that's the sad part of this entire exchange. It looks so good, but in the end, the Baron still goes to H2k. So sloppy though. They need to short this up. This has been one of the main flaws of this team, that they couldn't play the map on like 2-3 places at once. They did it so beautifully in the early game, but it all fell apart later on. Props to Ryu for canceling that teleport at least, else it could have been a Baron handover to ANX, but still sloppy.
Yeah, it is. And although, yes, H2k got the Baron, this is ANX making something happen over 10,000 gold behind, and they are able to take out Ryu, full commitment to it. Just honestly incredible play from ANX, I think, in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. They made the only right choices they could have made. H2k just left the window for it. And they get rewarded with another beautiful Cloud Dragon.
Gotta go fast, Krebo.
I mean, that's going to be a real fast Olaf or Nas speeding in with triple Cloud Drake plus Zillion. Like, if ANX are worried about how to start these fights and get in, they have every tool now to get in.
All right, this is where we need to look at the waves here. Because with this Baron on H2k, there is the play. We all know what's going to happen. It's Liquid is going to look for the Tempered Fate. There's no summoners on Ryu, even though the Wild Knight is flashes right now. So for H2k, they need to spread their resources out. They're going to divide and conquer 1-3-1 in any formation possible. They want to hit all the lanes so they can break apart this team comp that relies on each other from Albus Nox Luna, because they need to work together. So if you split them up, that's the way in for H2k.
Exactly, and Albus Nox Luna must nail this engage. They have to have the perfect one, because if you fail against the 1-3-1 with the Baron buff, your base is going to collapse in the game, and their hopes in this tournament will end. So ANX needs to pull the trigger, but they need to make sure they do it at the perfect time.
Yeah, and they need to do it early as well, because if you engage too late, they're just going to cross-map you. You engage mid, well, they'll take side lanes. Jankos definitely wants to stay close to his team, though. H2k not buying into the split hype. They're grouping up here.
Got Ryu. No summoners.
Looking for it again. Double one setup there. Stone's gonna land in as well. Stay off. Gonna try and chase him up, but Forgiven just takes out the crit. Kira moves forward there, but Ryu's down. Revive there onto the Zillion. H2k gonna camp his spawn, and Kira is gonna go down again. H2k 3v1, 3 up. 3v1 right now in that team fight, looking to break.
Yeah, 30 spawn campers. It was close. It was a nice try to double bomb. Ryu just didn't drop in like instantly, so he got the return damage. It looked pretty for a while, but still H2k, they get the inhibitor.
It's just not enough, and they can get more than the inhibitor. They could actually go for the game potentially here with 40 seconds almost still on Kira. They have the ability to look for the dive and try to end the game, punch their ticket to the semifinals.
They're gonna push through and do what they can. These turrets are melting as H2k look to punch their ticket in the quarters. There's another killer. Smurf's gonna go down. H2k as Odo gonna get himself killed. A Miracle will collect one, but the Nexus is open. Forgiven, he's been exhausted. They're gonna try something here, but Forgiven, they'll cut it out, and H2k demolish ANX for their semi-final match versus Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah, fantastic performance. But you know, Jankos, he says it himself, he's like, yeah, still counts.
Yeah.
A blemish at the end of the game, but in the end, if you would have asked H2k, do you want to go to semifinals after sweeping your quarterfinals 3-0 in very short games, they would have said yes, a resounding yes, and they can be happy.
Of course, I mean, these guys
gotta work on the high five mechanics.
They gotta work on the high five mechanics.
There we go.
Hey!
Nailed it.
I mean,
that's the mark of a great team, being able to improve.
Being able to high five.
Being able to improve on the spot, you know, make a mistake once, improve your high five mechanics right after.
well, things may have got a little dicey on the Baron front, but very few mistakes that were obvious there for H2k. Very clean games, incredible performance, and maybe more surprising anything than a semi-final. But is there 7-0 in their last matches at Worlds?
It's how dominant they have looked to get there, but I want to take a moment to give credit to the team that we are saying goodbye to. Albus Nox Luna made history here at Worlds. Very deserving.
Unfortunately, the history ends here for them. They'll exit with the quarterfinals, and H2k, the last Western hope, are going to push forward to play Samsung Galaxy. So much pressure riding on this team, but the expectations that people didn't have for them moving into this tournament have all been quelled. They are looking on fire.
And you've got to say, this is the kind of performance that they needed to show for people to have hope for them against Samsung, right? They need to be on a tear. 7 straight wins. Can they put up a performance that could take down Samsung? That's going to be the question on everyone's mind.
Yeah, and it's going to be a beautiful juxtaposition as well as they're readying up for the chant right here.
H2Y, H2K, H2Y, H2K.
Samsung so much about that late game, criticized often for their early game, to your point. And H2K have just been dominating all their lanes. If they could get those big advantages against Samsung, maybe they don't get the chance to actually get to their perfect lane.
For H2K, you got to choke them out. You got to hit them early. You know, you got to pick these strong picks. No more early or Vladimir's into Syndra's. Get the priority on that Syndra. ANX have revealed a little bit information of H2K and pick and ban here. Some of their trends. Let's see if their champ pools are big enough here. The Jace will definitely be a big factor in that matchup. Play around the early game for H2K. Can they survive and can they shore up their late game?
I certainly think that there's going to be some big adjustments for them to make as far as pick and ban, though. I don't think that champions like Syndra and Aurelion Sol will be prioritized as low as they were in this tournament. Yeah. That's something that they are going to have to adjust to. They prepped incredibly well for ANX, and I think that their drafts made sense against them, but they're going to have a different plan against Samsung because they are a very different team.
And that's maybe the tough thing, right? Like, we had a couple questions, like, what does Forgiven do without Caitlyn? Turns out he's got 2 other picks and can still play them very well. Zyra is kind of a new pick, but kind of everyone's expected to play that at this point, so that's not surprising. I feel like the nice thing for H2K, rattling off 7 straight wins, they don't have to show very much. So certainly maybe there'll be some surprises there for Samsung, but we are going to hand it back to Dash to break down that clean H2K sweep.
Thank you very much. Pace through time. Now we're going to get an interview with Prawley and Odoamne in just a minute, but before we do, I want to go ahead and break down this third and final game and ultimately the dominating 3-0 sweep out of H2K here in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you excited for the matchups that they're going to have versus Samsung, right? You know, Odoamne versus Cuvée. Cuvée absolutely smashing in the Samsung series. Then we also have Ryu having some of the best games I've ever seen him have here at Worlds.
Yeah.
And he's going to have his handful with Crown as well. I mean, there are so many things head-to-head just because both those teams have won so many games in a row, obviously. But, you know, pretty much across the board, we've got good matchups.
Yeah, and I think it's 2 teams performing better than we expected maybe coming into the tournament, especially in the early games. There's going to be a lot about the laning phase between Samsung and H2K. This game, however, I mean, we wanted some changes in the pick and ban phase from ANX. We got the Zillion, which was not the chase we wanted.
Bring back time, get the same comp again.
Yeah.
Not really.
No, it was definitely disappointing not to see adaptations between the games. And then also, like, in the end, they give away Syndra this time. Other times they picked it themselves and they had Vlad against it. Actually gave them a chance to, like, win the lane at least. Zillion is a losing matchup against Syndra, and Kira obviously fell really far behind.
And ultimately, there will maybe be some learnings for Albus Nox Luna coming out of this World Championships, is that in the best of 5, they're going to have to learn how to be more flexible in Champion Select. When things are not working, at a certain point, you got to throw out whatever playbook you came in with and just change it up.
Well, to contrast that, I really like what H2K did in just sticking to what worked for them. The Zyra, the Lee Sin, and the Jace. Just pick it over and over and over. If it wins you the game, it allows you to really save a lot of strategy for your upcoming match, which you know is going to be more important. I mean, honestly, they were very confident coming into this with good reasons for it. And I think that it's going to make that matchup that much more exciting because we haven't even seen what they have prepared in the off time.
And while it was a dominating victory, early game for H2K once again, let's go ahead and take a look at another play that broke ANX's back here, handing H2K the series, presented to you by Acer. Down in the bot lane here, once again, ANX still never saying die, as is their moniker here. They come in, but unfortunately, H2K already prepped for it.
Yeah, never say die, but they will be doing so. And it all starts with an attempt with a Bard play, but the tunnel is way too long, so they're able to see it. And this play is going to just extend this. They're going to be able to take up one nice little turret here, but a 5-man push to the bottom lane is just way too deadly when you're this far ahead.
It kind of showed the game, you know, ANX were trying to find ganks and skirmishes. H2K were running as a team most of the time, had really good vision. They actually knew where people were going to engage. I think I saw one mistake from H2K in the early game. That was Vander Forgiven pushing up too far after their jungle had already left. Something they have done before. And then obviously later in the game, we had some of these Barons again. And yeah, they're really far ahead. I'm sure the players are losing a bit of focus because, again, they have such a massive goal lead. They're kind of just running around and trying to kill people left and right. But the Baron calls, they have to be spot on if you're going to beat a Korean team.
Definitely agree with that. And the other thing, too, is that, you know, the comp that H2K keeps on running here with a bunch of winning lanes looks super good and can snowball really well. But you have to worry about if some of these early plays don't work out, you know, then we get to see some more, you know, flexibility.
And I think the cool thing about that comp actually is the fact that we saw something very similar out of Rox yesterday with the Zyra, the Jace, and the Lee Sin. That because they're on opposite sides of the bracket, you have to imagine that these teams have been playing against each other, which means that that's a really good practice partner for both of them. Very similar styles, and if we saw how Rocks demolished EDG yesterday, that might mean that the matchup we have with Samsung against H2k could be a lot closer than we expect.
All right, well, we've got an interview ready with tonight's qualified semifinalists, so let's hand it off to Shocks.
Thank you very much. Indeed, joined here by H2k's coach Prolly, as well as the top laner Odoamne. So first up, congratulations, fantastic performance here. Before we get into your performance, I do want to ask you about kind of your strategy and your mentality going in. ANX was the underdogs, but it did seem that you guys gave them the proper amount of respect with banning out the brand and their power picks. How do you think they've performed, and how do you think you guys have performed overall?
Well, ANX's best strategy is the fact that they have a lot of weird picks that you have to ban out. You can't really pick it away from them. And then the second big strength they have is they don't really give up. And that might sound weird, but a lot of teams, if you're 10K gold up, like we were, they would crumble and die. But ANX is fighting like the game is even, so it's really hard to actually close on them, and that's actually a really good quality in a team.
Yeah, that also seemed like it in a couple of games. Even though you guys were far ahead, you still had to fight for those victories. Odoamne, how do you look back on your performance? You've received a lot of praise from a lot of people so far. I don't know if you read all of that, and you had an amazing series. How does that affect you, and how does that give you confidence going further?
Well, so far, coming through the groups, I started playing a lot better in the second week. So I think that kind of carried into my mentality and into scrims and into today's series. And I think today's series will motivate me even more to play better into the semis. So I think and I hope that I will play a lot better than I did today.
All right, we will see if that happens. Before we talk more about that semifinal, he already played really good, don't you agree?
Yeah, he's just being super humble. But I mean, to his credit, we used to do 1v1s a lot, and I could win. But now every time we do 1v1, I get stomped. So yeah, he's getting better.
Well, let's speak to the team's performance so far. With your history, obviously not the best performance last time around at Worlds. The third places in Europe. It seems like this is more of the true potential of H2k. For you, who's been with the team for so long, what does that mean to finally see that coming out, and why do you think it has now?
Man, it took you guys long enough, Odo. I don't know. I'm like it's always been there, and that's why it's always really hard to be a coach and sit on the sidelines and watch. I know they can be doing better, and I always believe they could do better, and now I think they finally believe in themselves, and there's a lot more confidence around. So right now there's a couple of things we have to fix, and then we're gonna be completely unlocked. So I'd say we're 80% right now. So when we play Samsung Galaxy, we need to be 100%.
So let's talk about that matchup. You guys will be the underdog in that one. People saying how good Samsung looks, and honestly, they do also completely crush their quarterfinals. So Odoamne, what kind of hope can you give the European fans, and what are your realistic views on that matchup?
I mean, they played really well in their quarterfinals, and they show that they have lots of strengths and very few weaknesses. But I think it's up to us to show up on our best level, and then we have a chance of taking them down.
All right, we will see what happens. Finally, Prolly, you're going to Madison Square Garden with H2k playing in the semifinal of the World Championship. What's that going to be like?
Ooh, it's going to be good. And I actually really respect that this is the first time as a coach I've gotten this amount of cheering from an A crowd. So that's pretty cool. And I'll be honest, when NA was able to play at Madison Square Garden, I can't focus.
Let them cheer for a sec.
When NA got to play at Madison Square Garden earlier, I was actually super, super jealous of them. So this has been kind of a goal. I want to go to Madison Square Garden and play. So I'm actually really proud of these guys for stepping up and showing up so we can go there.
Odo, final thing you want to say about that? I mean, this has been a great theater to play at. Now you get to go to Madison Square Garden. Pretty cool.
I mean, it's cool, but Prolly just cries every night before he goes to sleep that he wants to go to Madison Square Garden. So we just decided to just play well and just get him to Madison Square Garden so he stops crying for once.
All right, well, there we go. Always a lot of fun in the interview. Congratulations. We'll see you guys at Madison Square Garden. And Dash is going to close out the day from Chicago for the last time.
Thank you very much, Shocks, and a much-deserved trip to New York City and Madison Square Garden for this team, and in particular, Oduwamne there, who's going to be receiving Player of the Game here for just an absolutely dominating performance 3 times in a row on Jace. I have to imagine that if you're Samsung Galaxy watching this game, looking towards the semifinals, that is a player that you're going to have to watch out for.
And on the other side of the map, Juve has been looking exceptional as well, so this has to be a great matchup for us to keep an eye on. Both of these guys can play carries. They have incredible champion pools, and here you just see him getting solo kills and using all the resources that he got in this series to pretty much great extent.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, again, that's what's so exciting about like Samsung and H2k facing each other, because there are individual players who are performing much better than we expected coming into the tournament. Like, if before the tournament, you would have said the top lane matchup between these two teams would be the most exciting thing to watch. But right now, it is actually probably the most exciting thing to watch. And we also have all the way down, you know, Crown in the mid lane against Rio. We have Brutal down bot lane with Core JJ against Forgiven and Vandal. Like, all these matchups are super, super exciting. And I even ignored the jungle here, which is probably 2 of the biggest stars of these 2 teams.
And as we say goodbye to Albus Nox Luna, I feel that we have to recognize the achievement of this team. You know, they have changed the global perspective on wildcard teams when it comes to international events. People counted them out from the beginning. Here they are qualifying for the quarterfinals, and in pretty, you know, fantastical fashion. And again, here and even in these games, even though you would say, hey, one-sided, you saw the fight and the fire in their eyes.
Oh, yeah. They deserve so much respect just for getting here. They made history, and they did it with style as well.
I mean, on top of that, they're just so nice to watch. Their interviews are just very enjoyable. Just the charisma that this team has is just going to put a really big spotlight onto the region now that for the next year, it's going to be really exciting to see how far they can go.
Inspirational, I think, is what you were looking for there when it comes to listening to these guys. All right, well, we have to look forward, though, now to our semifinal matchups because they are set. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tournament bracket. SKT versus the Rocks Tigers and Samsung Galaxy versus H2k. So, gentlemen, when we look at this bracket, how do we feel?
Fire in the top, ice in the bottom.
Oh, that's true. Blue. We got color-coded. We are coordinated.
I mean, SK Telecom versus Rocks Tigers. This is a match in the making for so long. And I do love rooting for underdogs. Plus, the smiles on the Rocks Tigers' face when they play. I mean, they just enjoy League of Legends so much. And they're going up against the cold, hard champions. Yeah, SKT, they always seem so stoic. They have victory upon victory upon victory.
They're tired of winning.
Back to. It's so exciting for a semifinal.
Yeah, it's kind of hard though to call Rocks Tigers like the underdogs.
I know. I almost shuddered at that, but it's true. It's true.
I mean, in a way, I actually think it's going to be super even because both teams stomped their quarterfinals and had 0 issues, honestly, outside of like 1 game here and there. So I think both teams, if they perform at the peak, I think it's going to be super even, and there's no like big favorite in that matchup. The other one, obviously, Samsung H2k. Samsung will be heavy favorites. One of the problems, I guess a weird problem to have for H2k right now is that people will look at this quarterfinal and say, they beat ANX, so let's not overhype them going into this game. But at the same time, people also underrate them now because, well, they just beat ANX, right? And now they're taking on Samsung. I think actually they can challenge, but I don't think they have, right now, judging from what we saw today, enough to actually take down Samsung, but they have a full week to practice.
Well, by that same token, Samsung did obliterate Cloud9 3-0 fashion just as well, and Cloud9 looked pretty much as helpless as ANX did look today. So I think that we have to be careful with both teams and making sure that we're not really putting one as a heavy favorite.
Especially if we just see, some early game gold leads like we've seen in previous series from both of these teams. Can't count them out as you get later into the stages, and we will probably see more of those high pressure decisions where you have to think about, trading bottom inhibitors for Barons and those types of situations where you really start to sweat.
Well, of course, we did just run the coin toss backstage. Samsung Galaxy picked it up, so they will get side selection on 1, 3, and 5. In a sense, considered the higher seed when it comes to the side selection, whereas H2k will get 2 and 4. But pick bans for that series is going to be very interesting to me, mostly because H2k was not forced to show too much today. As you mentioned, kind of running that same composition, being very happy to run what's working. My question is, if Samsung Galaxy picks up a game or changes up the bans on them, how will H2k react?
I mean, that's super hard to answer right now because obviously teams will now look at this matchup and say, okay, we know their top laning will probably prioritize Kennen very highly if he's open. So how do we find an answer to that? Is Jace going to be banned? There's a lot of different things that can go into this one, but I think it's going to be, once again, much like so many other games, it was a lot about counter-picking in the laning phase. And if you are H2k, Caitlyn is a pick you probably won't get to see very often, and that means you have to try and play more around topside. topside like they did today. And that means get a counter pick for Odoamne suddenly becomes a higher priority instead of like maybe counter picking bot lane.
I mean, there's actually some bans that are jumping out to me already that seem like must bans in this because you mentioned, the Forgiven's affinity for Caitlyn. He doesn't play Jhin, yet Jhin has been one of Ruler's best champions. Yep. I feel like that's a must ban for them. Caitlyn must ban for the other side. And then you get to the solo laners, right? The lane matchups have been so incredibly important as far as draft phase goes. And the one thing that I would push down on priority list on a lot of teams is not only Olaf, but most of the jungle pinching that's been going on. I just feel like the counter picking in lanes has carried a lot more weight.
The one that I feel like you cannot give up is just in Italy, though. Jankos and Ambition can play it very well. And even though we haven't really seen this champion, it's kind of just the idea of giving somebody that champion and the fact that they can get away so far from the other jungler in terms of farm and just pressure advantage that it's too scary of a factor to give away. And that's most likely just going to be a permanently red side ban, which is really difficult to be in that red side situation for H2k.
All right, Deficio, final thoughts here.
Yeah, I think Samsung, honestly, I like your Italy point there. Make sure it's not picked because if you don't fall behind earlier Samsung, you will have superior late game. We've seen that. We've seen H2k struggle there. So for honestly, it's about snowballing early for H2k and close it out. And it's about honestly surviving early game for Samsung.
All right, well, with that, tune in next week as Worlds heads to the heart of the Big Apple. Our final four teams clash in the world's most famous arena with a shot at the Summoners Cup on the line. On Friday, a rematch of last year's World Finals between SK Telecom and ROX Tigers. And on Saturday, it's Samsung Galaxy versus H2k. Now, throughout the tournament, we've seen some huge moments. You called them out on Twitter using the hashtag World's Big Plays. Let's take a look at a few brought to you by XXX, Return of Xander Cage. Our first tweet comes from Kenny O. So this was Peanut's first competitive game on Olaf? What a god. Let's take a look.
Suddenly Peanut is here on the Olaf, a flash forced out of Philip, but he is still chasing on the Deft, who's nearly out of HP. The chase in for Prey. First blood, that's two for Peanut. It might be a third. Oh, the axe landed, meaning Deft got rooted. He gets deleted, and it's Feb who wants a little bit more. Scout running out of health. One more shot would get him.
Just the skill shots landing from ROX to be able to get this. The axe lands as the root happens. Perfect, and that triggers the rest of the dive.
Two axes change the course of this game.
I mean, Kobe, you talked about junglers at the beginning of the day. I feel like in that SKT versus ROX matchup, if Peanut puts up performances like that could be a really big swing for the ROX Tigers.
Yeah, that has typically been, where we really focus on in this matchup. That and the mid lane, of course, for Faker and Kuro. I mean, there's just so much history. That's why I kind of feel like if you delve back enough into history, they're underdogs. But currently, they did finally get their LCK victory. It's just that one is definitely going to be very exciting. One of the things from that Olaf clip, though, from Peanut with the first one of the hardest things to do is like get the exact distance on your axe so it just hits the champion model, and he immediately picks it up, hits two more people. I mean, it's
perfect Olaf play.
Exactly. That's the hardest part about him, and getting maximum DPS out of your undertow was very impressive.
Well, next up from RNG versus SKT, MLXG's miraculous save brought this tweet out of Michael Balsamo, who exclaimed, "Looper is alive, let's roll it."
Now maybe onto Looper.
Looper's in trouble. Cocoon, but he gets off the slicing maelstrom. There's so much damage. Oh my god, fell forward! MLXG! He's still
Oh my god,
What
MLXG!
on earth was that?
Follow Cocoon, it's a lot of damage, and he's so low now. But then look at the kick. MLXG just repositions, gets the kick off, and then safeguards Looper.
Unbelievable.
It's just such good presence of mind to recognize that in that situation, if you don't get the double kick, you're going to lose that fight horrendously. It's better to wait for it. He does it just right, and wow, that was a beauty.
It really was. I mean, I was kind of sad that the YouTube video I saw online was labeled as Kennen big play.
Oh no!
I mean,
mislabeled.
Yeah, he pressed ulti. It was great, except for the fact that obviously when you have a good Lee Sin player, this champion is just insane, and that's why we always want to see Lee Sin, because the skill cap is just so high.
All right, we've had some sick Lee Sin plays so far this tournament, but again, when it comes to junglers, MLXG, somebody that we looked at as maybe underperforming in comparison to what he looked like at MSI, but those are the types of plays he's going to have to be able to make, the aggressive types of moves that have really helped RNG in the past. What am I talking about? Jesus.
In case there was still play.
It's late on the last day. So finally, Duke went coast to coast. Mr. El Shagan said, "Oh my god, that Narkite from Duke, I can't believe he got the kill on MLXG and survived." Let's see
Guardian
the
Angel
Narkite.
pops. The rest of SK Telecom, they're down in the bottom lane. Xiaohu's left alone. He hops over the minions, sidesteps a deadly flourish. MLXG's looking for the kill. Sonic Wave connects, resonating strike. Duke might just survive. Mega Knight's going up. The boomerang, the excitement, the hyper. Duke survives.
I actually hate Mata for that play specifically because he used his root over like a GA target who's still dead, hadn't respawned yet, and then suddenly MLXG was caught in this chase. Doesn't manage to pick up the kill, so let's all blame Mata.
He did miss his Q as well, though, so I think it's on both of them. You got to know that respawn timer on the GA.
Honestly, that game was pretty much almost over anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
He's just on the mission like, all right, I'm either killing him or that's good.
I like that camera angle, though. Kind of makes you feel like you're playing the Gnar and the one doing the kiting, because Lord knows I don't have those kinds of mechanics. Well, remember to tweet us at LOL Esports when you see a big play using the hashtag World's Big Plays. That's going to do it for us here in Chicago. Stick around for another edition of Worlds Tonight with Shox, Deficio, and Kobe. We'd like to thank the folks here in Chicago for hosting the 2016 Worlds quarterfinal round. Now, for all of us here in the Chicago Theater, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in New York. Only one invitation to Madison Square Garden left up for grabs.
Everyone's watching through your eyes.
These teams play with fire, and I love watching them clash.
Jumps on his head, but it's not enough as Odo looking for the early double kill. He is going to get it there too.
We win this fight, we win this fight.
Here comes the chase. Staios is down. Ryu proto-bounce himself under the Torres. Looking for Ryu, but they can't get it. Miracle gonna get his face screwed off. He's not careful. Ryu gets himself a triple. There's the Quadra.
If they want, they have the vision, they see them coming in, they will look to finish the Baron first.
Oh my god, he's still alive! Odo Omni's gonna take him now, but Miracle stands his ground and slays Odo Omni.
I play with Secret, I play with Secret.
I go along. Okay, go in mid. Staios goes in, looking for someone. Ulti's on the van, gonna crush